Imagine dipping a toe into one of Titan's lakes. What do you think would happen? Now let's paint a celestial picture for you. Titan, the largest moon of Saturn, is renowned for its unique feature, lakes and seas. But these aren't your typical Earth-like bodies of water. We're talking about lakes and seas composed entirely of methane and ethane. Now you might be wondering why these hydrocarbons are in a liquid state. That's where Titan's frigid climate comes into play. Titan's surface temperature hovers around a spine-chilling -290 degrees Fahrenheit. In such extreme cold, methane and ethane, which we usually encounter as gases here on Earth, condense into a liquid state, forming these surreal hydrocarbon lakes. So, picture yourself on the edge of such a lake, toe hovering above the icy cold liquid. So, simply stepping into one of these lakes would be a chilling experience to say the least. Now what if you decided to take a 10-second swim in one of these lakes? Brace yourselves because it's going to be a wild ride. Imagine this. You dive into the frigid waters of a Titan lake. Instantly, the extreme cold, about -290 degrees Fahrenheit, would freeze you solid. No time for a leisurely backstroke here. But the cold isn't your only problem. Remember, we're not on Earth anymore. There's no oxygen here. You'd be gasping for breath, but there wouldn't be any to take in. And let's not forget about the pressure. The pressure here isn't like the deep end of your local pool. It's enough to crush an unprepared swimmer like a soda can. Lastly, the composition of these lakes isn't quite like the water we're used to. They're filled with methane and ethane, which means potential chemical burns on top of everything else. In essence, a quick dip in Titan's lakes would turn out to be a deadly plunge. Alright, so you've taken the plunge and somehow survived for 10 seconds. What happens next? Well, let's talk about the aftermath. The immediate and most pressing concern is the cold. Titan's lakes aren't filled with water, but liquid methane and ethane, which means they're extremely cold. Hypothermia and frostbite would set in almost instantaneously. Even if you managed to scramble out, any skin exposed to these frigid temperatures would be severely damaged. But it's not just the cold that's a problem. The lakes on Titan are also filled with a cocktail of chemicals. Exposure to these chemicals could cause severe damage to your skin and eyes, potentially causing blindness. And let's not forget about the potential for lung damage. If any of that methane or ethane was inhaled, it could cause serious harm to your respiratory system. So, while Titan's lakes may look enticing from a distance, they are certainly no place for a swim. So, to sum up, a 10-second swim in Titan's lakes would be a deadly adventure. This is not your typical exotic vacation spot. In fact, it's far from it. The extreme cold would freeze a person solid before they could even start to appreciate the otherworldly view. Imagine being trapped in a block of ice, unable to move or breathe. Speaking of breathing, the lack of oxygen and pressure on Titan could crush an unprepared swimmer, leaving them gasping for air that simply isn't there. And let's not forget the potential for chemical burns from the methane and ethane in the lakes. These chemicals are not your skin's best friends. But say you did manage to survive this hazardous quick dip, what then? The aftermath would include potential hypothermia, frostbite, blindness, and lung damage. Not exactly a list of souvenirs you'd want to bring back from your space travels. In conclusion, while Titan's lakes are fascinating to study from afar, they are definitely not suitable for our earthly swimming habits.